So you want to buy a telescope, but you have no idea where to start. Or you already have a telescope and have no idea how to use it. Well, in this video, I'm going to be teaching you pretty much everything you need to know to begin using your telescope or begin looking for your first telescope. Hi, my name is Sky, and I am your new astronomy correspondent for Overledge News. And this is your March 2nd, 2026 Space Pod. So we all have, or at least we know somebody who has been there. You buy a telescope, you spend hundreds of dollars on it and the equipment that comes with. Next thing you know, you're staring at it completely dumbfounded. You have no idea what to do. Next thing you know, your telescope's either in your attic or in your garage, collecting dust for the foreseeable future. So what I hope to do in this video is to prevent that from happening and for you to actually enjoy using your telescope and enjoy looking at space. So before we jump into which telescope you should buy and how to use it, I think it'd be best to talk a little bit about how telescopes work. So to clear up probably the biggest misconception when it comes to telescopes do not magnify. Instead, what telescopes do is they collect light. The way I like to think of it personally is your eye. Your eye has the iris and then it has the pupil. The pupil's main function is to collect light. Have a little light right here, your eye collects it and then it sends signals to your brain, yada, yada, yada. I'm not a biologist, I'm an astrophysicist. However, what I do know is that you could think of a telescope as the extension of your eye. Your telescope is basically just a long tube that collects light and then sends it to your eye. Now that we know a little bit about what a telescope actually does, let's talk about the two main types of telescopes that you're going to be seeing when you're shopping around. To start off, we have this beauty here. This is a reflecting telescope, specifically the Celestron Astromaster LT70. The words that I just spoke don't mean anything. All you need to know is what its purpose is. At the very front of the telescope, we have a lens. What this lens does is, as the name suggests, it refracts or bends the light and it sends it through the tube into the back of the telescope. At the back of the telescope, we have a star diagonal, which is a little mirror that reflects the light up into your eye. And we have our eyepiece. This is where the actual magnification comes in. Since there's no need for the glass piece, we can make reflecting telescopes much larger because the glass piece does not get brittle at the end when you manufacture it pretty big. So depending on what you want to do, we can use these telescopes for different things. If you want to look at the planets, I would suggest going with a refracting telescope. Since they're smaller, they don't collect as much light, which means you could see minor details on the moon or Jupiter, Saturn's rings perchance. However, if you want to see faraway things like distant galaxies, nebulae, and stuff like that, I would stick with a reflecting telescope. Since they're larger, they can collect more light and focus it into your eye. Reflector telescopes are mostly used among astronomers and researchers. You've probably heard of a couple of these, such as the Kepler telescope, or perchance you've heard of something called the Hubble Space Telescope, maybe? Who knows? But if you're not trying to spend tens of billions of dollars buying your own telescope, I think we should stick to the more simple aspect of reflector telescopes. So how these telescopes work is you get your light that goes through the front of the tube, which does not have a glass piece at the front. It goes to a mirror in the back, which is usually curved, which reflects it to a central mirror. The mirror is either going to be angled or flat, depending on what kind of telescope you have. There are certain flavors of reflector telescopes, you could say. So if it's a curved mirror, it is going to shoot it to the side of the telescope and into your eye. However, if it's a flat mirror, it's going to shoot it to the back and then into your eye. This brings me to my last topic, affordability and where to actually get these telescopes. I understand that at first glance, these telescopes can be very nauseating with their price tags and all the equipment that comes with it. However, there are many, many telescopes for under $100. And if you do want a bigger, more expensive telescope, most of the time there are payment plans to be able to pay for these telescopes. And you don't need to worry about buying equipment such as a star diagonal or an eyepiece because unless you're buying from a garage sale, it will already come equipped with one eyepiece at least and the star diagonal. And that brings us to the end of our small, quick little discussion about telescopes and how to use them and where to buy them. So, if you have any questions, please leave them in the description below. We're going to provide links to these affordable telescopes as well as the websites to just browse telescopes in general. I thank you all for watching and clear skies, everybody.